Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case, and welcome to the live chat feed as well. Feel free to talk as we go along, to share your opinions and reactions to what I'm going to show you, and your thoughts, theories too, as well as other topics and things as well within the case. Feel free to do so, okay? So today we're looking at Jim's burnt out wreckage, okay? Now, first of all, maybe some people get a little bit confused here and there. So previously, I covered Chase Venstra's last known location, homestead, of where he stayed at before he got arrested and stuff. This time, we're looking at Jim's former place of living, which doesn't seem to be in Lucin, okay? It might make more sense later in the video, okay? So it's a burnt out wreckage, and we're trying to understand what went down, what caused it, who's responsible, and what remains there in the area. Are there any clues? Is there any links to Dylan and stuff like that? Does anything stand out? Is anything suspicious? Because, you know, when looking at Chase Venstra's homestead, that was quite dodgy, right? I know there's a bit of speculation, skepticism with some people, accusations being thrown about and this and that. Well, we'll just see how that develops and plays out in itself in a separate standalone video, okay? I'll be giving my thoughts on that and theories, concepts, maybe with the use of maps as well. But with more importance, we're just focusing on Jim's former place today, all right? The way I'll be presenting the footage and the analysis will be play a small portion of the clips, pause, take it all in, visualize, might even use the magnifying glass, okay? The reason why I've not used the magnifying glass in the previous one, if I'm correct in saying, with Chase's place, is because it was very up close, very cluttered, and in a small space. The magnifying glass works better when you're looking from a distance and then you use it to zoom in. If you're already zoomed in on something, it'll just clutter the screen up worse. It just doesn't work. I have tried, okay? So that's in mind, the concept of this video, and you can let me know your thoughts as we go along. In addition, just a few tiny little updates that tie in with this finding on the search is that Lance and Kimber, whilst out there, they did try contacting the sheriff's, FBI agents, whoever, police, about, you know, the finding and come here, investigate. And with, I guess with time, it's underway, it's going to happen. I don't know if it's officially started yet. Doug as well even reached out, called them, the police, and I guess maybe FBI about what's been found. And I think, you know, there will be a search. I guess maybe tying on from what was discussed in the previous video of mine about the Montello police presence and agents showing up supposedly. Maybe that's why it all ties in together. Okay, maybe it is underway right now. You can confirm things down below if it needs clarifying. Okay, that'd be appreciated. Right, so I think it's time we get into the footage, and I'll share that with you right now.
On the way to Jim Brenner's cabin that burned down. And once this burned down, he moved out to Lucin, right over those mountains. So you can get from right over those mountains and take back roads across the power lines, take that road all the way up to here.
Okay, so that's interesting right off the bat because it provides context of the event and when it likely happened, which would have been in the past. The reason why I say that is because, as we know, in recent time, Jim was, up until his arrest, was squatting on Dylan's land, which was in Lucin, Utah, okay? Whereas in this footage by Lance and Kimber, they appear to be in Montello. The reason why I say that is because the way they worded it, after the trailer was burnt down, Jim went on to Lucin. And before Lucin, Jim was living in Montello, or around the outskirts of it. Because as we've seen from previous reports about, you know, Jim attacking people, aggravated assaults, and also attacking the 70-year-old in Montello. And then I guess his trailer being burnt down or exploding. all that, all those negative events and actions and reactions probably led to why Ed Hirschberger moved him on to Dylan's land. Maybe it wasn't Jim's full-on choice. Ed pushed him along and said, get out of here, go over that way, we don't want you. Could be interpreted that way. In addition, in that first bit of footage, as Lance is pointing around saying how you get here, I don't know the coordinates. I tried looking down below in the comment section, couldn't find them. If you know, feel free to post them down below in the comment section and / or the live chat right now. That'll be appreciated. Additionally, what I just want to add in, because it ties in with my map analysis, I can try to locate this location later on in the video. It might be a rough guess, okay, but I'll just give it a try anyway later on. Because when looking at that footage and the way Lance was pointing over those mountains, he said, over those mountains is Lucin. So I guess that mountain area, is that like the border as well between like Nevada and Utah? Is that correct? Because when I did my map analysis, you had that long ridge, that line going all the way down, and it was like mountains going all the way down. So are they referring to that? If so, that kind of helps provide context, because I've already mapped out as many places as possible in Montello. So if I go back over one of them, it might show the burnt out wreckage, because I did say there was the odd abandoned spot that looked burnt down or broken, or it's collapsed on itself. So you see where we're going. Anyway, we'll get into that later. For now, let's continue on with the footage of the trailer.
Yep, you can see where his trailer was. It's like a chicken coop.
So as you can see, when Lance is approaching the site of the trailer, if you call it that, you see bits of debris emerge, you know, and the vegetation caught up, spread out all over the place. That would make me believe there must have been some kind of explosion and blast. And also a bit later on, you see the chicken coop as well, and the condition that's in, how it's half blown over. So there must have been some force behind it to cause an explosion like that, and for it to, you know, cover a fair radius as well. Let's just take a closer look at some of the items present in the footage. So as you can see, as said, there is a lot of items scattered about, but equally there's a lot of damage too, and it is to be expected. As you can see, this is the epicenter of where it all went down. Got the magnifying glass on the right hand side. I'll hover over and let me know if you see anything of interest. So let's start off down here. Got some wood, planks. You got this here. Is that an old kettle or something? I'm not too sure. Trying to figure out what that is. Let me know if you know any of the items on the screen. And you got this here, which actually looks like either a generator or like an engine of a car, or maybe a quad bike or something. It just has that shape. Let me know what you think. A few more items in the back, scattered around. You can see the distance that's been covered. You got the mountain tops over there, which Lance pointed out to. You got that over there, which Lance does inspect later on in the video. A few more bits like barrels, bits of metal and scrap. Some of it not identifiable because of the damage caused to it. You got a few cans or buckets. Don't know what that blue thing is. Maybe it's a small can. But you see what I mean, where when it gets to the cluttered stuff, it's hard to make out what it actually is. So there we go. That's a bit clearer to see. You got the ash by the side of it, the white stuff. Is that a cooker? Looks like it could. And all that scrap, how it's all twisted. You got the wheels of the trailer down here, the tyres not in existence, completely burnt down and everything. You got that there. I think there was a stove somewhere, but it might not be on this shot. But you get an idea of the extreme damage and the after effects of it. Let's move on to the next slide. So this angle is just a bit further to the right, and you see a few more items in view. Some more stuff down there, bits of metal, I guess steel. You got that. I thought it was a barrel, but it doesn't look like one. Is that the stove on its side? I might be wrong. And then you got that one there, which could be the stove. You got the like door on the side of it. Yeah, that could be it. Anything else? Got a few pots or pans. Not too much of interest, what you'd probably get in a normal trailer. So I think that rounds this area up. That looks like maybe a microwave. We saw one of them or so in Chase Venstra's trailer, or one of them at least. So it's just also spotting for similarities with certain items, just to get maybe an understanding. Maybe there's a pattern, or could someone have passed on an item to somebody else? Has someone borrowed something, if they know each other or have met at some point in time within the same location? And maybe that might make more sense later in this video, because Lance does point out something interesting. Okay, so yeah, there's not really much else to go off from here in terms of items. Can't see any bones at the moment or bits of clothing, but then again, this is the area you'd least likely find remains of evidence or people, because it's right at the zone of the explosion. So let's just take a closer look now at the chicken coop. Oh, before I forget, there was another shot of this angle just when turning around from the trailer, so I'll just show you it very quickly. I might as well whilst we're here. You got like some piping there. I don't know if that would be attached on the side of the trailer, maybe. A few more just bits of scrap and whatnot. Not too much of importance, but then again, if you notice anything that stands out, anything at all, feel free to let me know down below or just within the live chat, because everybody sees different things. We don't see everything all at once. Little bucket over that way, and a smaller one. A pan lid, metal one there. And you got planks of wood. Now, I did see planks of wood scattered around on Google Earth, so this could be what I saw back then. As for that, I don't know if it's a metal tray, some kind of sheeting. Is it a flat screen TV? Or probably not. Probably highly unlikely in an area like this. It looks like the head of the stove, or a stove, the looks of it. Apologies for the background sound, it's just annoying trains. A few tins, but not much. Not too much of interest, or nothing too dodgy shows up. That looks like maybe a tree stump, a log maybe. But look how far it reaches out over there. So yeah, that concludes that part. Not too much dodginess. Right, so as you can see on the right hand side, that's like some kind of chicken coop, chicken den. But when Lance was looking inside, there were no signs of chicken at all. That might be because they're completely roasted. That's worth taking into mind. But, you compare it to Chase Venstra's place. Chase Venstra did have a chicken coop, chicken den himself. And as you saw, there was 2 dead ones because they were neglected. No food, no water. In this case, just non-present at all. I mean, it depends where they were. Maybe they died a while ago and then it was just completely empty. Or the chickens were killed in the blast. But there's no real sign of remains of chickens. you would have thought they'd been in that chicken coop. Like, you look at the chicken coop, it is damaged, but it's still stood up. So the chickens should still be in there, but maybe not alive. Does that make sense? Some of you might be wondering, why am I obsessing about chickens? Well, first of all, I can do a chicken sound, but don't need to go back there again. I've already done that. But no, in more importance, it's just those similarities I'm trying to establish, okay? Because, I just want to see, is there any links or ties with Chase Venstra's place and Jim's former place? Because they both are in Montello from the looks of it, so it's worth taking into mind. As well, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but some of these screenshots are clearer than the footage, which I play now and then, and that's because the screenshots are from the other video, which were from Kimbra, which had higher quality videos, 1080. The footage is from that live stream, the 1 hour one, which I guess was recorded on Lance's phone or camera, whatever he was using at the time, but that was only 720 and it got blurry at times. But it's all understandable, because at the end of the day, first of all, it's good what they're doing, going out there and exploring. Secondly, going out there consistently. That's another big, important role as well. And number 3, the live streaming. So you are limited to, I guess, recording quality. So it can get very demanding when streaming. That's why some people have 2 computers, like when you see the gamers when they stream. So being in the middle of nowhere with a certain signal strength, maybe, there's a bit of a strain, and you might have to lower the quality of the video. Whereas Kimbra, when she was walking around, she wasn't doing a live stream, she was just recording, the bits of footage here and there, so she could do it in a high quality, hence, as you can see on screen. So hopefully that clears that up. Didn't want to talk too long about that, but yeah. Now, important thing I've noticed, correct me if it's Lance's or Kimbra's, but there is a crutch on the ground, and that's interesting. Look, can you see it? That crutch right there. So what's it doing there? As we know, Jim wasn't within the area at the time. So why was this left behind? Was it an old injury Jim sustained, so he had to use the crutch for a bit, and then he just dumped it behind when he healed and went off on his own way? Or was he injured at the time, or still now? Does anyone know if Jim has any long-term injuries? Whether he uses a crutch, is he disabled in any way, shape or form? Let me know in the chat. It's just interesting seeing this, because if he does have an injury, if this hints at that, then could it show a bit of vulnerability with Jim in some way? A secret illness, a hidden disability? Is he ashamed to show that to other people? Does he keep certain things secret? You might be wondering why. And you know what? I'll bring it up right now, okay? The way it seems to be worded is that originally it was Jim's idea to move on to Lucin, but Ed Harshberger played a role in moving him on, and that might be because they just wanted to get rid of him. But maybe Jim wanted to word it in such a way that I made it on my own terms, it was down to me, I made the decision, I'm the man of the place, I'm the one in control, I have the power, because he likes power, he likes controlling other people, and that kind of shows through his aggressive nature, past criminal history, attacking people for whatever reason, maybe when he's talked down to, such as that Maryland dispute at work, maybe he was being talked down to then, so he thought, I'm not going to stand for this, I want to be in control, I don't want you having power over me, so I'm going to retaliate back and do what I am good at, which is using violence. And then he's on top. Same could have happened with Dylan. We don't just stop there, because I'm just going to slightly fast forward for a second, but I'll explain it deeper a bit later, is that supposedly with the trailer, it was worded, Jim said that somebody else was responsible for it blowing up and setting on fire. But in actual fact, it was his own carelessness and recklessness that caused it. So did he try masking the story up once again so he didn't appear looking like an idiot because he doesn't want to be seen as weak, vulnerable, stupid, any of that, because it ruins his image. So he thought, I'll put a spin on it. Oh yeah, all guys out here to come and get me. It was somebody else to have it in for me. I'm a target, I'm the top dog. You see where it's going? Could this be some kind of presence Jim has and a certain mindset he has within, which makes him unstable at times? Feel free to let me know in the chat, because that crutch could reveal certain things, or just a past history of an injury sustained. Let me know if he did have any encounters where he hurt himself seriously in whatever way. It could be in a fight with somebody, it could be natural, environmental, who knows, but just let me know if you know anything, okay? Let's return back to the footage. So this shot is on the other side of the trailer when walking around, and there isn't as much here, but you can see those, what do you call them, gas canisters? The canisters, which were probably just outside of the trailer maybe. Did say that there was like 1 or 2 inside, but some of them are stood up, so I don't know if that really means anything. They're not in the best condition. I don't know if these went off, like exploded within the blast, you know, like a chain reaction, or were these further away so they didn't catch fire? I'm not too sure, but you get the idea of the sort of items that were present to cause this whole event, okay? So let's just move on to the next slide. From this angle, still you can't really make too much out. I do see a few greenish sparkly stuff, so I think I'll use the magnifying glass on that to get a better look. Okay, so I'll just drag this along and you let me know if you see anything. So you've got the wheels on the other side of the trailer. A few more bits of metal and stuff. Can't quite make much out. Is that a brick? Like a gear or a cog down there. More ash. Something there. Where's that green stuff? There it is. You can see it there. Those 2 pieces. What you can also make out is it's almost like, yeah, from this angle you can see the twisted steel and how it's gave way in the middle. It's dipped down slightly, and I think that's where Lance was pointing, saying that's where the stove was, or that's where the canister was. Right, okay. Let's just have a close look at this. It might just be the sun catching it. It might not be anything special. It could be a lens distortion, but it just caught my eye. Is it anything special? Do you know what it is? Yeah. So, yeah, there's a little bit more there. Right, that's that for this one. Let's move on to the continued footage of Lance.
I think we found where he did his target practice. And what the fuck is that? I think this is just a target. Yeah, just an arrow target.
So this part of the video I find quite important and interesting at the same time, because it kind of ties back to that last video I did about the whole shooting range. Do you remember that? Where I said, is a suspect, a criminal, going to an official shooting range, or are they doing it out in the open desert area? And this just proves it and demonstrates. You see this barrel here, there's multiple like bullet holes, not to get mixed up with the supposed bullet hole on the back of Dylan's truck or something when I think Tyler misunderstood that thing. That's for another day, another discussion, okay? But you can see there's quite a few holes, you know, taking a few shots at it, quite a few. I'm not a gun expert, I'll be honest. What we need to try and understand is what gun, what caliber was used to make these holes. Are these bullet holes caused by a handgun, a shotgun, like buckshot, or a rifle, and so on? feel free to let me know your thoughts in the chat, because it might help understand the type of guns Jim had at the time. It might even link to the possible weapon he used if he was responsible for taking Dylan out. You know, it's just worth considering. Now, I guess the only other link to make is, could Chase met up with Jim at any point for target practice, just hanging out, drinking some beers and shooting at the same time? Maybe, maybe not. It's just worth bringing up. And as well, do any of these bullet holes link to maybe the type of bullets that were found at Chase's property, or former property, which were buried in the ground in that cardboard box? I'm not quite sure, but it's just worth covering every angle and questioning everything. The barrel itself does look pretty damaged, like there's bits missing, but then again, that might be partially caused by the explosion. You know, it's been knocked over as well by the blast. We don't stop there, because as you see, just a bit later on, moves up to another target, and now this one's more padded or reinforced, a bit thicker as well. Now, when he did knock it over, it looked like there was bullet holes on the back, so a bullet has passed through. So, fairly powerful gun, whatever's being used. Because, as you know, when you do like target practice and shooting, certain material can stop the bullet from penetrating all the way through. Not literally bulletproof, but enough to stop it inside. Like you see with that gelatin, or that, I forgot what you call it, ballistic gel. You might have seen on the gun channels, like, what's a good one? I can't think of one on the spot, but you'll probably know. Now, looking at the bullet holes on this one, it's hard to tell because of the graininess and the visual quality, but we try and zoom in. You can make out some holes. Now, the main target thing is obviously in the middle, and when you look at the holes, they're not exactly accurate. I mean, it looks like there's one there, not to be mistaken with the one in the middle, because that's like a bullseye, but like a black, darker dot, not quite circular. And then you've got 3 more here. Can you see? There's 3 dark dots, and then 1 on the outside part there. What I'm coming to conclusions with is it's kind of accurate because it's on target, but it's not direct. It's not the bullseye. So could this imply that Jim isn't great with guns, or he's got a bad aim? Why should that matter? Well, if he was responsible for shooting Dylan, you know, if he missed, or it was like a flesh wound because he didn't aim correctly, that could have led to Dylan being hurt, still alive at that point. That's why blood ended up going onto his boot, and then for whatever reason after that, Dylan might have moved on or tried running away. Okay? You know, he could have been alive. That's the key thing. I know we haven't come to an ultimate conclusion yet because it's still an open case and so, but if we're basing it off, you know, a poor shot, bad accuracy, it hurt Dylan, but he was still alive up to a certain point. So it's just taking that into mind. And how many shots did it take? If that was the case, how many shots did it take to hit Dylan? Could Jim have fired a shot earlier and it missed, and it hit the nearest wall, the barn, piece of equipment? Because if so, then you could check for ballistics. You could try and investigate the evidence to see if there's any loose bullets around, and then that could tie in with the type of gun used, and then who used the gun, and so on. It's worth taking into mind. Let me know what you think. Do you think Jim is a good shooter, or is he as reckless as he is with all the other stuff in the past?
And what happened was, Jim tried to say it was somebody set his place on fire and tried to burn his place, but what happened was he left cans of gas or gasoline containers in his trailer with his wood stove going, and then left, and kaboom. Freaking lawnmower out here.
So as I said earlier, now you've heard it from Lance himself. It does make you wonder though why Jim was wording it differently at the time. Is he just too embarrassed I don't know. You can leave your thoughts. But as I said, that reckless behaviour, lack of care of one's surrounding, the stuff around one in the environment, it makes you think if Jim was directly involved within Dylan's, disappearance, could there be evidence here and there? Because with Jim being reckless, he's probably not going to tidy up after himself. He's not going to hide things properly, and so on. Maybe, maybe not. We'll just see. Now, we don't just stop there, because as Lance is narrating, talking over that, he does pass a lawnmower. And as you see, that lawnmower appears to be in some kind of box or something. I don't know if it was a container and it's blown open because of the blast of the impact. The lawnmower itself looks in decent condition, to be fair, even though it's out in the open. It does look similar to what Chase had at his homestead. So why did these criminals have lawnmowers parked up? Because they're not using it for mowing the grass, because there isn't proper grass there. It's like desert type landscape. There's rocks, it's rugged, it's rough. It would mess up the blades on it. So why are these lawnmowers in decent condition parked up and abandoned? They've not been deconstructed for parts. I mean, if it was all broken up, then maybe that would make sense, but they're just left there. And it's like, what were they going to do with them? And why do multiple people have them? Do you know people that have lawnmowers in the middle of the desert? Have you met people like that? Or do you have lawnmowers yourself in the middle of nowhere? Feel free to let me know. But as I said, a few more links here and there between Chase and Jim with certain equipment and items. So yeah, a little bit weird. Right, so the next bit of footage gets a little bit more creepy, okay? It's when Kimbra catches Lance's attention, says, "Hey, come over here. Found some shovels." Lance starts walking across, and this is what you see.
Shit.
Look. How weird is...
All right, I'm not going to touch it. I know, I'm not going to touch
here,
it.
There's another one up here. Up here, see the blue in the ground?
Okay, so this, it is weird too. It's weird,
Isn't that weird?
but there is vegetation on it.
So as you see, two different shovels, one buried into the ground, and it's that question of what was Jim doing at the time? Was he disposing of someone, Dylan, or some kind of object? You look at the ground, there's a bit of a clearing. True, there is vegetation growing, but it does look like a bit of a bold patch compared to the areas around it. So at a point in time, something was dug up there. It is trying to understand, though, the radius of the hole. How big was the hole? Is it literally this whole bare patch that was dug up? Or is it only just where the shovel's, in the ground? That would be interesting, because the bigger the hole, the more it makes you think, is it a human or humans? If it's even bigger, then maybe it could just be like a car, a quad bike, a few items. Reason why I say that is because, once again, more links can be established, okay? So, with Chase Venstra, when Salty Pancakes investigated, there was numerous items scattered around, but there was also a fair few buried underground, with sheeting covering it, the cardboard box with the cables in and the bullets, supposed attempts of a dog being buried, possibly, if it's not like an underground hole for a dog. And I think some other items as well buried here and there, which has been talked about in rumours, such as his guns. When you take that all in mind, it's like, is that normal behaviour? And, at some points, people will say, no, it's not normal. That is very suspicious. But then, I guess, the more people that do it, does it become less creepy and more of a norm within the area? Because from the looks of it on screen, Jim is, does the same thing as Chase. The only difference is, with Chase, there was no shovels in sight, on Chase's homestead. I couldn't see any shovels. So where are they? And yet at Jim's, you can see the shovels exactly where they are and where the hole was probably dug. So it's worth taking into mind. And when I say dug, I don't mean dug in the name from No Thanks. I mean dug in digging a hole, okay? Just in case anyone gets confused. Right. So you've got this one. We'll refer back to it shortly, all right? There we go. This is the second one. Slight different angle, the blue shovel. It's just a bit further back. Just try and zoom in slightly. This one's fallen over, so I assume it was once in the ground but not deep enough to hold it up. The head of it looks pretty rusty, so that could imply it's fairly old. It's been weathered over time. So there's that. What's this? Is that a branch, bit of vegetation, some kind of tree? Or is it a makeshift grave without the cross? I don't know. It's a bit wonky at an angle, but with it being right next to the shovel, it does make me think, right? And as well, I don't know if it's the angle or the ground, but it looks like a gully, or it looks like a thin burial. The ground looks slightly raised. I might be wrong. But yeah, once again, another clearing where something could have been dug. So yeah, it's interesting. Now, a key point that was mentioned by Lance, and I thought of it myself before really watching the video, was it's all to do with the relevancy, the date, the timing of when the things were dug. And like what Lance said, couldn't have been done in recent time or like the 20th of May, round about that, or just before, because the vegetation growing, like if someone was to disturb the ground, the vegetation wouldn't grow back like how it does here. So it must have been done longer ago. So that could rule out Dylan being buried here. So it's worth taking into mind. And you know, same applies to this image as well. This could have been done a while ago. But still that intrigue of what's buried there. Is it anything suspicious? You know, it might not be Dylan, but it could be someone else. If there's other missing people out there, what's the chance that they're buried in this spot? Could it be Aidan Clune, or could it be somebody else that's on the database? Feel free to let me know. Do you think these are grave sites, burial sites, or are they just a reflection of Chase Venstra's behaviour with hiding things and digging holes? Let me know. So aside from the suspicion with the shovels, I mean, one key point to bring up is it's good how, you know, Lance and Kimber were able to, you know, observe everything, record all of it, point things out without having to touch anything, which is, you know, good, because if they did touch things, then it would contaminate stuff and ruin possible evidence. Now, I know some people will jump in and say, well, there you go, that's what Salty should have done. Lance and Kimber set a good example. Salty should follow, and so should other people, etc., etc. Well, yes and no, because with Salty, really the only thing he touched was the initial beginning where he was pulling the sheet in a way to reveal that box with the bullets. After that, he just walked around, you know, okay, he picked up the credit card of Chase, but I think everything else he just, you know, just recorded, didn't touch. And that's because it was in sight, it was visible. But the likes of the first scene with the buried stuff, you know, you have to reveal it to find out what's there. I know Lance and Kimber didn't, you know, they're being more careful, I guess, because they don't want to ruin any evidence, because they are determined and passionate about finding Dylan, so they want the best possible outcome, I guess. But still, Salty did good what he did with exploring. You can't criticise singular people individually, because there are others as well that are responsible and do things differently, and so on and so on. But yeah, I kind of understand it. Now, as I said, set aside the shovel. There is another suspicious bit, and it's shortly afterwards. Kimber catches Lance's attention. Lance starts walking across, and there's like a mound or so of ash, and it's away from the explosion, the trailer, so it's like, what the hell is this, and why is it there? Let me show you the footage.
Right here, yeah. So, probably something else that needed to be checked out too.
Look, and then there's something down here.
Looks like a little piece of clothing, looks like some thermals.
So as said by Lance, it definitely does need checking out this, because this is like a standalone fire away from the trailer. So I don't know what would have been burnt, broken down, some object, or once again, a person. I don't know how much ashes can be created from burning a person down. It's not a normal question you would normally ask, but you know what I'm saying? Can't really make too much out there. There is that wire or mesh fencing or caging you might just be able to see on top of it. So could that be something to do with the chicken coop? Some caging for it, and he decided to set a chicken on fire for some reason? I don't know. I just don't know why that wire would be there. You've got the green bucket on the right, and when looking inside that, there was ash inside of that, which is a bit weird because it's like, why? Did he have a fire in that bucket, or did he try scooping up the ash from the big pile and then gave up? Ash doesn't magically appear in a bucket next to a big pile of ash. So was it scooped up, and why? What's the whole point of that? Was he trying to spread it around? Disperse it? I don't know. I can't really enhance the photo anymore because at the end of the day, Lance was there observing it up close as well as Kimbra, so they would have seen something if something showed up. But just trying to zoom in, what is that stuff? There's a few black bits, some chunks, and as well as some white chunky bits like that there and that next to it. Does that have any meaning? Is that bone fragments? Leave your thoughts in the chat on what you think. Anything else over here? A few dark patches in the corner. It just seems very bitty, and a few bigger pieces by the side. So I'm not sure if that's stone or remnants from whatever was burnt, such as an object, or if it's actual bone. Not quite sure. You can let me know what you think. And then we move on to the next one. Just next to it, near it, like roots or vegetation, there's a little bit of cloth. And he said thermals. What? Thermal socks, thermal gloves, whatever, a piece of clothing. And this is something that could be quite key in an investigation, right? Because, whether it be at the scene of a crime or nearby, you find some clothing that could be the clothing that Dylan wore. Does that look like the type of clothing Dylan wore? A piece of it, maybe? I'm not sure. The fact that it's just a small rag or just a small piece of it makes you think, was the rest burnt? Could Jim have been burning clothes? Maybe a pile of clothes? Whether it be evidence or his own stuff, items, or it could even be stolen items, you don't know. Did he try burning it and a little piece blew away and catched on the roots nearby? So that's why it's been preserved as it is? Worth thinking about. So there was one more finding along the way, like maybe nearby or so. Lance is walking and he comes across these long wooden poles. I don't know if they're like fence poles or something like that. Let me show you what I mean.
That Louisa we're talking about. That Chase? I don't know. These might be Chase's posts. I don't know.
So it sounded like Lance was either quoting or relaying what another investigator said at a point in time, that they're Chase's items, and it's like, why? Does Chase know Jim? Have they hung out properly? Are they close friends, or they've just bumped into each other? I've not looked too direct into the connection between them two. I have heard that Chase has been in connection with Robert Avilés and maybe Ty as well in between. I don't know about Jim. But let's just say that was the case. Chase has come over with some items, or did Jim steal those items from Chase? You see where this is going? Maybe they hung out together. Maybe they planned stuff. certain crimes, stealing things, attacking people, taking out Dylan. Maybe they were working together. That's one way of looking at it. Maybe they were shooting on the range, on site where those barrels were, testing guns out and planning things. That's another thought. And maybe they shared the passion or just the tradition of burying stuff, and maybe people as well. Just like how Chase does at his homestead, just like how Jim did in the footage. It makes you think, because there is some kind of like overlapping patterns, right? So let's just put that aside, because there is another way of looking at it. The resources, those wooden poles, fences. I mean, they look big, they look heavy, don't they? So they must have been transported in a truck, maybe? They're quite long. So was it a big truck or a trailer? And where did they get it from? It's worth questioning. Let me know what you think in the chat. How did those bits of wood get there? Because they look heavy, there's a lot of them. I don't think Jim would have been dragging them around, so it must have been transported, right? I don't know where they exactly came from, unless it was Chase's property, or they both assisted getting it from elsewhere, stealing it. So yeah, there's different ways of interpreting it. Right, where do we go from here? Well, I do want to give like a final conclusion opinion, but I'll leave that towards the end of the video, so make sure to stick around for that as I debunk certain things, right? I also want to briefly check the comment section of that video to see if there's any additional information, dates and stuff like that. But first, as I said earlier in the video, I wanted to briefly go on Google Earth, the maps, just to see if I can pinpoint it or if I've already pinpointed it previously. Let's just take a quick look now. So I'm going to focus on the left-hand side, the bottom left grid zone, because that's where Montello is and where it seems to be at. As well, you've got the border yellow line going down between Nevada and Utah, and you've got the mountains here, which I believe are the ones that were in Lance's footage. As I said, I'm doing this without coordinates because I don't have any. I heard about Lance mentioning about Google Earth project, but I didn't see any links to that, so I'm limited. I'm just working with what I've got, what I've previously set up myself, and you can let me know your thoughts as we go along. So I can't imagine it being too far to the left because, you do have buildings, farms nearby, which probably would be visible. It can't be up here either, so it's probably the lowest section this way. And it will be facing east. So we just turn looking east. That should help. Okay. Flip the image. Try to be on ground level as much as possible. And it was like they were on, well, it wasn't flat ground. I mean, it's deceiving, as said. The distance itself is a bit deceiving from where they were to the mountains, because on Google Earth, everything is, smaller scale. So misinterpretations can happen. It can't be too far over this way because it does get quite ridgy and more vegetation forms over here. And it gets greener, so it can't be that. So it must be further back this way. They did talk about dirt roads where over the mountains there's a dirt road that comes to the left, bends round, and then comes back up to a point round here. I don't know how accurate I really am with this. Let's just look at a few key points what I've previously listed. It can't be that. That doesn't look like Jim's trailer whatsoever. No. Okay. What about these two? No, because there's too much going on there and there's a shed which wasn't there at Lance's place. Definitely not that. How about this? Nope, definitely not. Okay, there's the power lines. You remember when Lance said about the power lines? Power lines. You see how they follow. Following a straight line. So do I have to follow the power lines? That's not burnt out. Oh, I think I looked at that one before. Silly me. That looks too dark and too much vegetation to be that. You got the waterhole down here. Huh. I don't know if it's before, like, or after the power lines. What items do I have nearby? What's that? Nope, it's not that. I bet some people right now who are watching are probably pulling hair out their head, screaming, thinking, oh my god, Andrew, you're so stupid. It's literally right there in front of you. But I can't see it. Okay, I'll be honest, I can't. I don't know how visible it would be, because if it's a burnt out wreckage, let's say due to the timing, it's going to be flat, isn't it? You'll see the outline of it, but it's going to be flat and dark. And there's quite a few dark patches on here, isn't there? There are too many buildings there. Just drag across, because I know some people wanted it lower to the ground. Doesn't seem to be working well. That's one of the power lines. I can't imagine it being too close or too far up this way. Dirt road there. No, I personally can't see it myself. So it's just be one of those things where wait for an update, wait for the coordinates. It might be sudden, it might be late, but then I can always refer back to it and do an update, you know? Always possible. The only thing I will say, which is kind of what we should be looking for on the maps, like this, when I said the debris. You see how it looks really messy and abandoned, where it looks like something was there at a point, but not now. That's the sort of thing. You know, you've got the mountains in the distance, like that, and then you got the debris there with the planks of wood scattered about and other maybe bits of metal. I don't think this is the spot because it's directly next to a road, which wasn't shown in the footage, but this is like an example of what we should be looking for, okay? Okay, so I just wanted to check the comment section out on one of the videos at least, just to see what people's responses were. One individual saying, do you know if law enforcement checked that burned down trailer for evidence of Dylan? Could that shovel be a possible location for him? You never know, I guess, but law enforcement need to dig all that area up. Earthworm replied, 8 days ago. They were getting warrants last I heard from them. So, has that gone underway since? I know where Doug said about police being in Montello, but have they been in this area where Lance was? Important question, that. Anything else? I enjoy your videos. Can't see much. Watch out for Salty. He's stirring up stuff. Be safe. Not much there. Do you know the date when this trailer blew up? Good question by Sunshine. Shout out to her because she's watched my live premieres. You might be present right now. So she said, do you know the date when this trailer blew up? Is someone missing in Nevada or Utah around that time? Good question. Who did Brenner work for around that time? Does he even work? Who is that Billy that beat Brenner up because of that or a similar wood stove and messed up his ankle? Oh, messed up his ankle. Is that referring to the crutch? Did this happen around that time? I know this has probably nothing to do with Dylan, but it certainly would tell a lot about Brenner. Key questions. No reply, so I don't know what Earthworm was doing there. He saw the comment but didn't reply, so maybe he doesn't know. Hi Lance, has Ellie been out there to the area? I know. Oh, DP says, I noticed something bright red, not sun bleached, that looks like a plastic gas can in previous one, but this time closer, it might be a plastic one, okay. Could people from Montello see JB's trailer when it burned? In KNL's video here, move the slider to 602 to 604 stop it at 6:03. Dead centre across the valley at the base of the mountain over there, you can see a dark green spot that is a pivot circle. To the right of that is the town of Montello. As the crow flies it 7 miles from JB's trailer to the bar, whether it was daytime or nighttime, when JB's trailer burned, people in Montello would have been able to look due east up here on this hillside and see the smoke from his trailer burning up. About the only reason for no one in the Big M seeing a fire is if the weather was cloudy at the time. Okay, so maybe I should have looked at this comment before going on Google Earth, but I can return back to it, as I said. What's this? Referral from Doug. Okay, anything else going on? The thing I'm thinking is, if somebody used those shovels to bury Dylan, it seems to me that they would have removed the shovels and brought them back with them. I mean, who would leave shovels laying around at a dead body burial site? Fair point, but someone like Jim Brenner, who's a bit reckless and careless anyway, who can leave a stove on and gas cans in the same room and it all blows up, I mean, you know, he's probably capable of many things. Earthworm says, I don't think Dylan is there, but it is weird and needs to be checked. Anything else? How long ago did this trailer get burned? I noticed plants are growing up around the rubble. A couple years ago. I think that closes that, to be fair, and we'll refer back to that in a second. There's no way you're going to dig that ground with a shovel, it's rock hard. True. I do, it's actually not. Well, he would know because he lives in the area. But you probably couldn't dig so deep, right? Oh, there's Les Nuttall. Shout out to him. Keep up the search. No, not that. When did it burn down? About 2 years ago. So keeping consistent with the responses there. What's that one? Several comments. The red container and the yellow bucket shave had been out there after the explosion, possibly to carry water. Listen to Rev Donna's video. Is that white thing in the tree a shirt tied to it? Yeah, I did see some white thing, but then again, it could have been from the blast, as it blew in the wind and then caught on the bushes maybe. I'm confused, Lance. Was this today? Did the cops ever come out? This was yesterday, 9 days ago. We're going to go up and see if someone is up there today. Okay. I know this is slightly old, quite a few days ago, but, you know, I can only look at one thing at a time. I don't know. 9 days ago. Looks like Ellie hasn't been out. Not surprised. Look at how this case was handled since the beginning. I do not have a lot of faith in Ellie out there. There's June. Shout out to June. June's been on my channel. What's that big white thing at 3:45? It's a luggage carrier. You strap it to the top of your vehicle and put your bags and stuff on it. Okay, let's just see this last one. I'm not trying to be rude at all. I hate typing stuff out because you can't hear the way I'm coming across. With that being said, I'm just asking a question. Is it safe for y'all to be looking at the stuff y'all are looking at, considering Dylan's parents and detectives have asked for the public to stop because it could hinder the investigation? Y'all be safe out there. I mean, my response immediately is, you know, they didn't touch anything, which was good, and they aren't near Dylan's farm, so they should be fine. Dylan's dad and the FBI and other LE have said they have never said they don't want people searching for Dylan or other missing people. So what? Does that mean the news, once again, gave out false information, or was it the mother? How it was worded. The mother said, we don't want people out there. So the dad and the FBI and the LE, you know, haven't said anything, but the mother has. Can you leave a comment in the chat right now? Because once again, information switching and changing. Some people allow it, some people don't. 1 minute everyone doesn't allow it, then next it's like, oh, well, we're a bit more lenient. We didn't say this, we didn't say that. What's going on? You know, as I saw in one of the news articles, they said, searches have been called off, general public cut off. So it was a bit abrupt. And I guess that was misinterpreted, misworded, misinformation. But then the East Idaho news channel that did that third interview, the last one with Candice, coming up to Dylan's 20th birthday, Candice was saying how, yeah, but things have to stop within the area because it's, you know, the police are doing investigations and that's important so the evidence isn't messed with. So it's going along the lines of, we don't want you out there. But then the father thinks differently. So is there a kind of a, you know, disagreements within the family and within the dad and the mother? Let me know what you think about that. What's this? Anything else? Not really. That's about it. So let's get to the conclusion. So finally, getting to my opinion and conclusion of the investigation of that area. I don't think it's tied to Dylan because of the timing of stuff. I mean, if you didn't know the date and it was like maybe a few days after Dylan's disappearance or round that point, you know, let's just say it roughly, you could say, well, maybe the trailer was burnt down to get rid of any DNA evidence. Dylan could have been buried in the ground nearby or inside of the trailer when it was on fire to just get rid of it all. But I said 2 years ago it happened. Dylan wasn't missing 2 years ago. It's only been 2 months since Dylan has been missing during May onwards. So there's no link there to be established, right? The shovels themselves and things buried in the ground is a mystery in its own right and should be investigated, yes. But I don't believe Dylan would have been buried there. I mean, some people could look at it this way and think, well, okay, it burnt down way back then, so what? The shovels, the ashes nearby, the mounds might have been done more recently. People can return back to certain places. You know, no one else is living there because there's nothing to live in. So Jim can return back to that area because he knows it well, because he once lived there, and he might still have items out there as well which he decided to use when returning back to dispose of Dylan. Really, the one area, the headphones, really the one area that would clear it all up would be to analyse the shovels and the mounds and the ash pile which was further away, get that done for DNA testing, come to a conclusion, and then that should round it off, literally. But just my opinion, I just don't think it is tied to Dylan because of the timing and everything. I think Jim can still play a role in Dylan's disappearance, but I just don't think Jim would have returned back going all the way that way. But then again, let's be realistic. It is heading west from the farm. It is within Montello, within the radius, I think, of the phone ping. So, well, it's questionable. It's questionable. I'm sure people can leave their thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you think? Do you think it's directly tied with Jim and Dylan's outcome? Or could it be tied to another case, another missing person out there? Feel free to let me know, okay? That's what I can give at the moment. My thoughts might be a bit slow towards this, but I was covering other stuff in between, so got to take that in mind. Also, annoyingly, it was like background music playing before. You wouldn't have heard it because it was kind of quiet, but I could hear it next door, and I was kind of thinking, shit, is YouTube gonna pick up on that background music and then get me done for copyright or something? But luckily I think it was okay. Though the penguin wasn't too happy, you know, after recovering from a headache and then having to listen to that music being blasted. You know, he's scarred. You know, look at that face, look at the eyes. He looks tired, he looks worn. He looks like he's got a headache again. He needs to be rested. Now, I would have put headphones on him to help him, but haha, you got no ears. Yeah, I don't think he found that funny. But the beady-eyed bear, which is true. Look at those eyes, look how small they are. And then that little mouth. The mouth does actually open up. You can put things in there, but then again, I don't know what you'd be putting in there to begin with and why you'd be thinking like that. But, you know, like, I'm just showing you the depth of how deep it goes. It doesn't go that deep. It's fairly shallow, so I'm sure some people will be disappointed. But, you know, with it with all the noise nearby and the noise pollution, there you go. You can wear these for now. Is that better? Yeah, there you go. You rest over there. Anyway, that's it for now. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video, the analysis. If anything's been missed out, feel free to leave a comment. Okay, I'll see you in the next video, and yeah, goodbye.